So we suddenly realized that we were hitting on a nerve. And the nerve that we're hitting on is that what this map does is that it presents the external forces that are inherent in our society and economy right now. And it talks about how these are going to unfold over the next 10 years. So today, I'm not presenting a prediction of the future of education. So I'm not predicting what education is going to look like in 10 years. I certainly don't have that skill set. But what I am going to do is present to you the external forces in which education is going to reside for you all to consider. What does that mean for teaching and learning? What does that mean for educational institutions, whether they're higher ed institutions or whether they're K through 12 institutions? What does that mean for policy, state-level leaders and intermediaries? So really, we are presenting this map to you as a paradigm, a visual framework of what is to come in the external environment and how education might respond to that. Is this the clicker for the... So we're going to start off by overwhelming you and showing you a very crowded page. And I believe you guys all received the map in your packet. And you'll have different reactions to it. One reaction might be you just want to kind of close it again because it looks a little too complicated to read. And that's actually not undeliberate. The map is very complex, and the visual depiction of the map is complex. And this suggests what we all know in education reform already. There is not going to be a silver bullet. There's not going to be a simple solution that can address any of these drivers in the map. But I am here to try to make you understand the map a bit more, and so it's not so complex. And I'm going to give you the secret of the map, so you don't have to read everything on the back. So essentially, how the map is organized is really as a matrix. So the left-hand column, if you can read up there where it says drivers of change, those are going to be the external forces that I'm going to talk about that are going to be playing out in our society and our economy. Now, across the top of the map are the different domains that exist out there in which these drivers will play out in. And this is where the challenges and opportunities will lie for educators and different leaders in education. So essentially, the left are going to be the drivers of change, and across the top are the areas of impact. That big mess in the middle, that's the potential for all the trends that can spin out as a result of these drivers intersecting with these domains on top. Now what we've done is actually what the Institute for the Future did was they identified multiple trends, and then we also identified some that we call hotspots. And those are the trends that we think are going to have a larger impact in education, or the ones that are most prevalent right now that people might want to respond to. So in some ways, when you look at this map, what we could have done, or what the Institute for the Future could have done, is they could have just simply have listed the drivers of change, have listed on top the impact areas, the different domains, and people could have just filled in everything in between. But that's too constructivist for any of us. And we didn't want to go that far. So we filled it in for you. But certainly everything in between there can be debated. There is no right answer here, because like I said, this is not a prediction of the future. This is simply a presentation of the different forces that are going to be playing out. And these are simply, in some ways, some hypotheses and examples of how these future forces are playing out in these different impact zones. Okay? Now, I only have 40 minutes, so I can only give you the keys of how you're going to read the map. But essentially, by giving you the drivers today, that's going to ground you in the foundation for you to be able to think through the map on your own and in small tables later on that will be facilitated by NCTAF and KnowledgeWorks staff. So I'm going to really spend my time on that left-hand side of the map, and those are the drivers of change. And we have what, 6 key drivers of change, and I'm just going to go through and give you a relatively detailed description of each of those drivers so that you can really understand these external forces. The first one we're going to start with is grassroots economics. And I'll actually probably spend most of my time here because in some ways this driver really reflects the cultural shift that's going on. If you ever have a chance to read a book called Wickonomics, it is really all about grassroots economics. And what grassroots economics is about is it is about a new mode of production. We are producing goods and services and information differently than we ever have. A new set of rules frame this new economic, social, and cultural production. The rules, very simple, bottom up rather than top down, openness as in transparency of our work in our organizations, peering, and sharing. These are the new principles that undergird grassroots economics, which is a new mode of production. Some very easy mental models here. eBay. eBay is a household name. How many people have used eBay? eBay is a bottom-up process with no central authority. It is simply a platform where you and I, as strangers, go to that website, we create trust between each other, and actually exchange resources. That is a new mode of operation. Jillian bought a car on eBay. I buy tickets on eBay. Chad bought a nice jacket from eBay. None of us have participated in the economy that way. But now we have a new way to do it, and the beauty of it is there's no central authority doing it. It's all by us. Craigslist is another example. How many people have used Craigslist? I rented my house in DC on Craigslist to people in Portland. I never met them, they never met me. We did everything over the internet. So it's a whole new way that we can exchange services. Now, I want to talk a little bit about this principle of openness, because this is really what businesses are starting to integrate, and much of this is really a result of open source software. Now, I'm not an expert on open source software, but we've all heard about Linux. The fact is that they opened up their codes for other experts in software development to look at the codes and be able to develop a better software program. People are starting to realize that the collective is stronger than the individual. So in the past, businesses felt like to be competitive, you had to be secretive about everything. Hold everything close to your chest, don't let everybody see it. Well, this new mode of production is that the secret to being competitive is actually to be open and to share. So a good example of this is Procter & Gamble. I have to use them as an example because they're in Cincinnati, Ohio. So they can't forget about Cincinnati. But anyway, they are one of course, the largest, top Fortune 500 companies in the United States. And they are producing anything from diapers to detergent to everything else. Bounty is stronger, paper towel every day. And they had an R&D department, and they realized at one point they will only be as good as they can leverage other people's assets and talents. So Procter & Gamble, along with about 35 other Fortune 500 companies, use an organization called InnoCentive. It is an open innovations business. And essentially, what they can do now is that they can present their R&D challenges to a network of 90,000 scientists across 175 countries and come up with a solution. So this is an example of business opening up and saying, hey, there is talent out there that I can leverage. How is the best way to leverage it, and how is this going to impact my business, and how will I be able to produce more goods? And in the end, they're going to be a stronger organization as a result of this. Now, education is starting to integrate this form of openness and sharing as well. The very first pioneer in this was probably MIT OpenCourseware. If you go to MIT OpenCourseware, you will ultimately be able to retrieve all of the undergraduate and graduate course materials available. This site has over 1 million hits a month from every continent in the United States. This depends on two things. First of all, it depends on the faculty who have to load their course materials up there, so they have to be willing to share. And then it also depends on people who want to be self-learners. Do I want to go to class at MIT, or do I want to, get the course syllabus and follow the readings and do the work on my own? As a professor, though, I would be ecstatic to go to MIT OpenCourseware and find out how other professors are teaching what I'm teaching. And so there's a lot of sharing that's going on. Different examples that I have up there are more related to K through 12. We have basically K through 12 is open sourcing curriculum now, okay? So you have Cricky, which is a new organization actually founded by Scott McNeely, who runs Sun Microsoft Systems and believes in open source software. And essentially what he wants teachers, and he wants parents and students and everybody else, is to come to the website and create new and interesting and efficient curriculum. A similar website is OER Commons. OER Commons, what their goal is to help teachers innovate. Another example is Educators Knowledge Networks, which was actually created by KnowledgeWorks. It's a peer-to-peer network where teachers can share together their experiences in redesigning high schools across the state of Ohio. And they can hopefully improve their own instructional practices that way, as well as to learn how to respond to some of the changes that are going on. So we are shifting away from the economies of scale to economies of relationships, to economies of connectedness. And that is what this driver is about. And this driver in the end will actually is a foundation for some of the other drivers.